There are things that we see that there's no particular explanation for. That's because people think in certain ways. If you see a person that there's no explanation to how they behave, there's only one or two things that it could be. And I'll never say who or what, but I'm just saying we have to be realistic about the time we're living in and what have you. An example. I know one time I said that tattletales, they have a certain type of behavior and people behave a certain way towards them. I've asked things from time to time. Well, who would like a this, that, or the other? And before anybody could respond, they would look this way until they catch it. This only happened in a split second. That's because this might be a free gift or something, but they have to know, excuse me a second, what it means. Is this stuff? Okay. They have to know what it means and how it means whatever it's supposed to mean. Okay, so now, if we see unexplainable behavior, it could be either is something going on internal or something going on external. External would be the white man ordering somebody to play a certain part, because people play parts. They choose parts for us. I'm sorry, they ain't chose this part for me. I'm not playing because they ain't got no part that solves the problem. You know what I mean? They not handing out niggas no part that means anything for the betterment of himself and humanity. And it's not the time for carelessness. What is carelessness? Carelessness is if you don't know why people are placed in a certain way. Sometimes they might be placed there as an example. Well, what did they do? Well, if there's no visible, no medical or anything like that, then maybe it's psychological. Psychological. That's what it'd have to be. There's no medical. That means either they did something or was doing something that was harmful to a certain environmental transition. It could catch up with them physically or psychologically. It could be an order from boss man. Well, we don't want no witnesses, so you play like you're not able to witness anything. It's just possibilities. Remember, being brave means you have to look at everything. You can't say, oh, that ain't that. You can't do that. Because lives, right now, you think that there's something that the white man won't do to maintain power? Not true. He'll do anything and even the most obvious of things. And this is not a new conversation. But since we're going into a transition, we should discuss this type of thing just in general, so that everybody understands where they're stepping, where they're going, what am I doing, okay? And also we should be aware of the white man don't have no good part for niggas. He just don't have it. He don't have it. There's a time where financial or economic security is, some people might think is important. There's a time we have to manage our life in a way that if we can see certain signs, certain things that happen, we have to agree that, okay, that, what I've been witnessing, is actually happening. It's really happening. It's really happening. And it could not happen unless there was some protection. It couldn't happen unless it was some protection. And it couldn't happen, well, it could happen, even if Allah put his hand over something, Allah can protect it any kind of way that Allah wants to. But I'm talking about in general human terms. We have to look in our environment and we have to be, what time is this? What time is this? And sometimes a reality is put in front of you so you can see it. See, boss man give us parts to play where you go to, that's the way boss man do. He give you any part, not you, but he gives the human being any part he wants to play. And if they on boss man's team, they got to play it. This is what this part you're playing. He don't say, boss man don't say, oh, you're playing the part of the hero today and you're the fool tomorrow. You can do that anytime you want if it's As-Sabiqun, because you can't be a fool working for Allah. No matter what people say, he's a liar, he's a magician, he's a this, he's a that. They say that about any good people that's got a policy of things they don't like. Personally, the Negro done said everything in the book, and technically, the brother don't care. I mean, at all. But when you work with people over a certain period of time, you begin to develop care about people, and you want to see them and everybody use their full potential. This is one of those times. This is one of those times. This is a time of stepping forward or retirement. So since I ain't gonna do that, I'm headed home. Or if I do that, whatever that is, you don't know if the program has been outlined and it's in line with what Allah said, if that's a program, if that one of those exists somewhere. Then the people should move right along. I got thousands of examples. I mean, friends, family, not some of them, everybody. Somebody has got to them, and they tell them whichever, oh, well, your father's a good man, but if you want to keep him alive, you know, do this, that, other. If the people are girls, they say, I'd rather have daddy alive than to be a martyr. Right? Ain't nothing. That's what they will do. They got their akal, their reason, for them, that's good. If you have sons and grandchildren, they might hold up for 10 or 15 years, but after a while, drug addiction, heroin, crack, all that has an influence. You know what I mean? I remember my best friend, I didn't even believe it, but the first house he became a heroin addict. He was one of the first heroin addicts in our neighborhood. He broke into his mother's house. That was a tough, how could, that's the first house every heroin addict break in, right? Where they know where everything is. That's normal. But it wasn't normal then. In 65, 66, man, so-and-so broke into his mama's house. His mama's house. Imagine way back when. How could somebody do that? Right? It's normal. Absolutely normal. Everybody does it. If they get addicted to heroin or crack, it lowers your standard of ethics and morality. It lowers them. It does away with them. Okay? If boss man messing with friends or family, boss man gone pretty soon. Your children are going to say, hey, I get it. You can either give dad up or go sit up in the penitentiary the rest of my life. I won't have no life. That's what they didn't say. That's what they pointing at. You help us, you'll never go to jail again. And you're going to help keep him alive. It ain't going to hurt him. That's what the white man tell them. I know that's what they tell him for many reasons. They tell everybody whatever they need to hear. If they don't hear it the first time, they come up with something else. After 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, they're going to strike pay dirt. Why? Because people can't last that long. People, their lives are not structured to where they're going to have 30 good years without needing money, 30 good years without, you know what I mean, something or other, of 30 good years without getting a case where after the 4th or 5th case, eventually, the people crack. But what I'm saying is, shoot, I done had people here that children go out and hang out at the masjid with my grandson 5, 10 years ago. What are they doing out there? What is the brothers here doing with sons that's going out there to California for no reason and hanging out with grandchildren? What are grandchildren and children doing? If Mukhtar says something, they look at him right quick. That's when I tell everybody, I said, you have to be careful about how you act, because they always defer to the senior snitch. Just the sergeant is on a, private tattletale, not going to do nothing. He's going to, because he's in charge of this. They don't even know that. They should know by now, because I done told them, but when it's a group of people, everybody past 5 years ago, when I started, refers to the senior snitch. If there's everybody telling that, they'll refer to him. They'll look at it. Oh, it's going to respond to me, because they don't want to confuse the issues. They can't. That's normal. If I'm in California, they're going to, and a family member is around Mukhtar, and they look at Mukhtar instead of looking at me when something is said, they're referring to the senior snitch. That's what they're doing. It don't make no difference what they say about it, and then you study it for about 5 or 10 years, however long you want, and you come up with, that's real. What I saw, that's real. Why is the behavior of everybody designed to go against what's good for our community? If I like a good, clean stripped down place, and all of a sudden, here comes a place at the Islamic Institute of Counter-Zionist Psychological Warfare in California, old washing machines, couches, which I technically hate, couches, big puff beds. I hate puff beds. I sleep on little, right? Why are you bringing them here? Because a white man tell you bring them in here because he don't like that. Okay, I'll move toward a lightweight close. We're involved in continuous evolution. This is not a time to play with evolution because we don't know what it means. It's not time to play with evolution. You know, it's just not that time. Okay. Let's see. Allah will help you in different ways. I'll continue to review Surah Yusuf. As I say, when I use someone or something as an example, it's not as just snatching something out of the air. It's why do someone act the way they do? Let's see the evidence. Let's just see them. If there's no clear-cut evidence, then is a person acting like that because they've been told to act like that? Because you can't witness that. You can't go to no trial if you can't talk. You can't go. What's the reason? You got to have, like when you're in charge of something, it don't make no difference. Anyway, it's a good time. No doubt about it. But if we had to suggest a behavior pattern, it would either, I told a guy in Oakland, I said, I hope your behavior is consistent with what just be consistent with it. Basically, don't play around this time. This is not a good time. This is not something that a person can protect himself. It's not, nobody would harm anybody, that's not what it is. This is dropping. Nobody can protect themselves against Allah. Can't do it. It don't matter whether you believe in Allah or not. You can't protect yourself from Allah. Nor can you alter or change. We have enough empirical evidence from things that are happening that what we are saying is, I'm not going to say 100% true, but I'm sorry. Hey man, it's 95% real. If anybody got anything to say, you could say it anytime you want. What we're doing, what we've been talking about, what we've been pushing toward for 40 years is different than Caucasian statistics. They say a good manager is correct at least 30% of the time. That's not our batting average. It's not no 30% of the time. It's not 50% of the time. It's not 80% of the time. It's way up there. It's almost, so if that's true, then everything else, if what you see is 97%, 98% real, then you have to assume that the other stuff that you're hearing is true also, or would have the potential to be the truth. It has the potential to be the truth. Okay. So, the thing about our people overseas, I told some people, I said, you should write Donald Trump a letter and congratulate him on the great work that he's done. Nobody has the power. Nobody had the power to unify that whole region. Not only, it's not, if they had fitna in Iraq, fitna in Iran, this should unify. Can you imagine? How could that happen? That you unify everybody. Forget about what Boss Man's saying. Boss Man is a 95% liar. He's saying a few things now, finally. Oh, we don't, but he's still a 95% liar. He only says the truth as a false buffer zone against everybody know he's lying. Okay. So, no, we said we should send, see, a martyr goes straight to paradise. Forget about him being invited there as a peacemaker. Can you imagine? Democracy now, and when Pompeo said that's a preposterous lie. It wasn't. The Prime Minister of Iraq said it. Yeah. The Prime Minister said, we invited him to come here to work on this project and that project. A peace deal. Well, why did they kill him? Because they didn't want no peace deal. They didn't want peace to break out. Simple as that. That's why they killed him. We don't want no peace. Peace? You can't sell peace. You can sell war material. You can sell machine guns and tanks and aeroplanes. You can blow them up and you have to have more ready to buy. It uses up all the people's money. We can transfer that money to our trillionaires already, right? And all of our people, the military-industrial complex. Can you imagine the supreme Allied commander in World War II? Was 2 5-star generals in the U.S. One was Douglas MacArthur, the other was Dwight David Eisenhower. Eisenhower said, when he became president in 1960, when he was leaving, the last speech he made was, beware of what? The military-industrial complex. He's saying these people, before America didn't have no big army.